Haunted secrets of the Ellison family. Every daughter disappeared on her sinister 16th birthday. Sarah Ellison stared at the sunset bleeding into the horizon of Maplewood, her heart racing at the thought of her impending 16th birthday. The air hung heavy with a buzzing tension, a whisper of dread that sent shivers crawling down her spine. Every daughter she recalled the gossip, the hushed conversations that faded the moment she entered the room. The story said that when the clock struck midnight on an Ellison girl's 16th birthday, she would vanish, taken by the dreaded keeper. Even now, her grandmother's distant gaze haunted her. "We don't talk about it," she warned, but that only made Sarah want to know more. The days leading up to her birthday had felt dark and twisted. Her best friend, Lisa, had disappeared for hours last week, only to return pale as a ghost. "I saw something," she stammered, eyes wide in terror. Sarah could hardly listen as Lisa babbled about shadowy figures lurking near the park, eyes that glowed like the moon in darkness. A chill ran through Sarah. Suddenly, the old tales didn't sound so silly. Tonight, she must celebrate, but every laugh at the party felt like a nail in a coffin. Every piece of cake was a reminder that the darkness was coming. Relatives whispered about the curse, their eyes darting nervously. As birthday candles flickered, dread knotted in her stomach. Was she another piece on the keeper's board? She dismissed the thought as folly. Later, seeking refuge, Sarah climbed the creaking stairs to the attic, her pulse pounding in her ears. Dust hung thick in the air. She sifted through forgotten boxes, the scent of mildew and old paper consuming her. Then she found it, a collection of faded photographs. She hesitated, heart racing. There was her mother, smiling beside girls who looked hauntingly familiar, Ellison girls who had disappeared. Each of them had celebrated their 16th birthday before fading away like ghosts in the dark. Her breath caught in her throat. The floor creaked warningly beneath her. Night fell, shadows deepening, and dread clawed at her. The clock ticked away, the seconds 10:09. An eerie silence overlaid by the distant chatter of her family pressed in on her. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." The ground felt unsteady, and chill raced through her body. A faint whisper called her name outside, luring her with an icy promise. She crept toward the window, peering outside into the black void. A figure emerged slowly from the shadows, dark and twisted, with a knowing gaze that chilled her to her bones. Sarah stepped back, breath quickening as panic spiraled within her. She turned to flee but knocked over a box, sending a cacophony of old trinkets scattering across the floor. Suddenly, the room felt small, constricting, suffocating. The figure lingered outside, a presence in the night. Fear wasn't just in her heart anymore. It invaded her mind, consuming her. And as the clock struck midnight, Sarah knew. The tales weren't mere legends. The keeper was real, and he was waiting for her. Would she disappear as generations had before, or could she confront the horror that surrounded her family? In that moment, standing at the edge of darkness, she was faced with the chilling question. Would she be brave enough to fight against her own fate? The room darkened as the clock's chime echoed, a haunting declaration that sent a tremor through Sarah's core. Her breath quickened. The cold sweat gathering on her brow felt foreign, as if something else had taken residence beneath her skin. The shadow outside loomed larger, its shape unnaturally twisted, stretching as if it reached for her through the glass. "You have to run," a voice hissed from the darkness, the syllables curling around her like a serpent's grip. It was not her own conscience speaking. It was something deeper, something sinister. It urged her to bolt, to escape, but where could she go? The keeper was waiting. With a heart pounding like a drum, Sarah scrambled to the door. She had to make it to her family, to the warm glow of light downstairs. But just as she turned the knob, The sudden cacophony of laughter from her party morphed into dissonant cackles, distant yet deafening, unsettling her mind. They echoed as if they came from somewhere deep within the recesses of her memories, twisted recollections of joy now tainted. She hesitated, torn between the warmth of her family and the gripping terror of the unknown that haunted the shadows. The floorboards creaked underfoot as shadows danced menacingly in the corners. With determination swelling, she pushed the door open and raced down the staircase, each step more frantic than the last. The laughter faded further behind her, swallowed by the consuming darkness she was leaving behind. "Sarah!" A voice called from below. It was Lisa, her terrified eyes reflecting the flickering candlelight. "You have to come." Sliding to a halt, Sarah spun to face her friend. "What's happening? Are you okay?" Lisa shook her head, eyes wide with terror. "I saw him. I saw the keeper. He's coming for you. We have to hide." The words froze Sarah's blood. She felt the weight of the tale suffocating her, a crushing reality crashing down. "Hide?" She bit her lip, eyes darting around the dim hallway. "What if I can't hide from him?" Without waiting for a reply, Lisa seized Sarah's arm, dragging her toward the hallway closet. It was cramped and dark, the smell of old fabric filling her lungs like a shroud holding them tight. But the sinister promise of the keeper lingered in the air. Outside, the sound of wind shifted, a low whispering that seemed to chant her name, wrapping around her like a cold blanket. The keeper knew where she was. The stories swirled around in her mind as she desperately tried to block them out. Would this small, dark space keep her safe? Or was it a trap? Their breaths quickened, mingling in the heavy silence. Sarah leaned her head against Lisa's shoulder, fear twisting her stomach into knots. "What if we can't stay hidden?" she whispered. "What if it's too late?" And just then, as if responding to her question, a sharp knock echoed from the door at the end of the hall, puncturing the stillness. It wasn't just a knock. It felt like a seal being broken, an omen unleashed. A chill ran down their spines, hearts racing in the quiet. "Please," Sarah barely managed, the word dissolving into a gasp. Fear clawed through her veins like icy fingers. They exchanged a frantic glance, the very air thickening with an unbearable pressure. The door creaked open, the shape blurred in the shadows, outlined against the rising darkness. Sarah, the familiar voice, slithered from the dark. Her grandmother stood framed by the door, eyes flickering, a ghost of the woman she had always known. And in that moment, it felt as though the world stilled, waiting for the next breath. But were they about to step out into safety or into the clutches of the keeper? As her grandmother's lips curled into a smile that sent chills racing through Sarah's spine, she realized this was only the beginning. What secret lay hidden beneath the practiced mask of her ancestor? Was there a way to break the cycle, or would Sarah become just another echo in the night? Sarah's heart raced, and she felt the pulse of destiny calling. The clock wasn't just ticking. It was counting down to her fate one way or another. The elderly woman stepped closer, and the hollow sound of her shoes echoed like thunder in the tense silence. Shadows stretched unnaturally behind her, limbs flickering against the walls like restless spirits trapped between worlds. Sarah wanted to scream, but the sound was choked in her throat. Was this really her grandmother, the sweet, kind woman who had told her bedtime stories of brave heroes and enchanted forests? Or was she a phantom conjured by the keeper, sent to lure her into a trap? "Come here, dear," her grandmother crooned, her voice smooth yet laced with something sinister. Each word dripped sweetly, masking a bitter undercurrent that made Sarah's skin crawl. "I've been looking for you. We need to talk." "Talk?" Lisa whispered, eyes darting around the closet as if the walls themselves might reveal some way out. "This isn't the time. We need to go now." "No," Sarah whispered urgently, her own voice splitting the air. "What if she is not who she seems? What if it's a trick?" A low chuckle slipped from the grandmother's lips, a sound that echoed with foreboding. "Oh, you're clever, my dear. But don't you know? There's nowhere to hide, and nowhere to run." The air became heavier, thick with the sweet smell of decay and lingering memories. The darkness beyond the door seemed to swell, pulsating like a living thing. Heart racing, Sarah felt panic begin to weave itself around her. Sarah. Lisa's voice trembled. This isn't the person you think she is. We can't trust her. Leave us, the grandmother warned, her voice low and commanding, echoing with an unnatural authority. This is a family matter. With each word, the shadows around her grew darker, and Sarah felt the icy grip of dread slink down her spine. How much did her grandmother know? What had happened to the others? They never talked about it. 1,000 nightmares brushed against her, taunting her with half-formed truths. Stay back, Sarah shouted, pushing Lisa behind her, standing her ground. I won't let you take me. Suddenly, the grandmother's form flickered, like a faulty projection, and for a heartbeat, Sarah saw the face of something else, a twisted visage drenched in despair, wide eyes filled with unearthly hunger. You can't fight your fate, Sarah. The clock is counting down. After all, before Sarah could react, the shadows surged forward as if alive, sweeping the breath from her lungs. The closet walls felt like they were closing in, and Sarah's panic escalated into a frantic rush. This was more than a family secret. It was a curse dancing just beyond the brink of her understanding. Run! Sarah screamed, feeling Lisa's hand slip from her grip, pulled into the dark. A flash of terror blazed in her friend's eyes, then vanished as if the shadows swallowed her whole. Lisa. Panic fueled adrenaline, but fear paralyzed her limbs. What should she do? The keeper was real, hungry, and desperate. The very air hung thick with dread, making it hard to breathe. The grandmother reached for her, fingers elongated and sharp. You must come to me, she urged, voice droning like a siren in a fog. You belong here, with us. With a surge of instinct, Sarah burst from the closet, instinctively racing down the hall. The distant laughter from the party twisted into an eerie wail behind her, the voices of her friends twisting into cries for help that echoed in her mind. She had to get out. The space tightened like a vice, the dim light flickering faster, and the clock was ringing louder now, each chime like a countdown to something she couldn't comprehend. But as she reached the bottom of the stairs, dread seized her as she looked back, expecting to see the familiar warmth of family. All she found was the yawning maw of darkness, ready to consume her. Where was her family? Where was Lisa? And that S when she heard it. The creaking of the door swinging shut behind her and a whisper that slithered across the distance. Come back. Sarah, you can't escape your true home. A cold shiver ran through her. What would it take to break free? Would escape even be enough? As she dashed toward the flickering candlelight and the laughter of her friends, the shadows twirled around her ankles, mocking her every step. Would the keeper let her escape this time, or had he already claimed her fate? The clock chimed again, an ominous reminder her fate awaited, ticking relentlessly toward an uncertain end. Sarah's breath was a ragged rasp as she sprinted down the corridor, desperately focusing on the glimmering candlelight ahead. The shadows whispered and swirled, sending cold tremors coursing through her limbs. Her heart thundered in time with the relentless chimes of the clock, and she fought against the creeping sensation of being pulled back into the abyss. Lisa, she cried again, panic breaking through her resolve. The hallway seemed to stretch endlessly, mocking her. Where had her friend gone? The laughter from the party grew more distant, swallowed by the weight of darkness behind her. How could such a simple night have turned into this twisted nightmare? As she neared the end of the hall, she glanced back, half expecting to see the grandmother, those unnatural fingers reaching out. But the space was still, the shadows heavy yet strangely silent, as if holding their breath. Her instincts screamed at her to keep running. It was a trap, and every heartbeat warned her she was the prey. With a surge of adrenaline, she burst through the door at the end of the hall, stumbling into a dimly lit room. This was the parlor, where her family had celebrated birthdays and holidays. Now, a suffocating gloom drenched the air, and the familiar room appeared foreign, painted in unsettling hues of shadow. The candles flickered as if they, too, sensed the impending doom. Sarah. A voice pierced through the night, seemingly from the shadows. She swung around, hope igniting her chest. It was her brother, Michael, emerging from the darkness, eye-wide with fear. "I've been looking for you. Where's Lisa? We have to get out," she pleaded, eyes darting past him, expecting to see the creeping darkness at any moment. "It's not safe here," he gasped, reaching out as the candlelight quivered. She's gone, Sarah. "You don't understand what's happening. What are you talking about?" Her pulse quickened again, an icy grip around her heart. "Is it the keeper? Is he in here?" Michael stepped closer, fear etched on his face. "The stories, everything Grandma said, they're true. When the clock strikes midnight, a sacrifice must be made. You must understand, Sarah. It's always been this way." His words landed like a punch, leaving her reeling. The secrets buried beneath family traditions, a sick ritual that echoed back through generations. Suddenly, all the glimmering moments from her childhood twisted into a grotesque shape, a curse knitting tighter around their family. "What do you mean, a sacrifice?" she stammered, eyes glued to her brother, searching for hope amidst the growing terror. Everyone who turned 16 disappeared. Grandma needs you." His voice clawed at her heart, despair spilling forth, but she shook her head violently. "I won't let her take me." Sarah felt the walls tremble, the spaces between shadows undulating. She needed to break free, but what would it take? The clock chimed again this time, an unsettling resonance that echoed with a sinister promise. A chilling silence fell, as if all sound had been silenced to mark the moment. 1, 2, 3, we don't have time," Michael shouted, panic flooding his features. "We need to leave. Now." Before what? Before the darkness devoured them both? The sensation of dread dug deeper as the air thickened, and she felt it behind her, an ominous presence creeping closer. "Michael!" she screamed, reaching for him. But as she turned, the shadows coiled around him, wrapping him in an icy embrace. "No!" He vanished before her eyes, engulfed by the darkness, leaving a scream hanging in the air unanswered. The clock chimed louder, and Sarah stumbled back, breathless with terror. She had to escape, but now, she was alone. The keeper's game was heating up, and it wouldn't be long before he came for her. And that moment, Sarah realized the shadows still twirled around her, mocking and sinister. "You can't run forever, Sarah. The clock is counting down." Would she have the strength to break the family curse? Or would the keeper claim another victim when the clock struck midnight? She turned toward the door, pulse racing. Was there any chance left? Or had the darkness already laid its claim? The door slammed shut behind Sarah, the sound echoing like a death knell into the oppressive silence. She pressed her back against the wood, her breath coming in short gasps, and her heart pounding like a war drum. The flickering candles cast a fragile light that danced around the room, creating elongated shadows that seemed to stretch and lunge toward her. Think, she urged herself, pushing down the panic gripping her throat. She scanned the room for anything that could help her, any sign that might reveal a way out of this nightmare. Pictures adorned the walls, familiar faces smiling in mischievous moments, but now they felt like haunting masks frozen in time. Would they help her or condemn her for what she had to do? Suddenly, the clock struck again, a mournful toll, deep and resonant, vibrating through the floorboards and into her bones. Each chime felt like a countdown to her doom. Then, a soft sound broke through the air, a low, chilling whisper. "Sarah." Her stomach dropped. There it was again, an icy voice, almost intimate yet so utterly foreboding. She spun around, eyes darting through the dim light, searching for its source. "Show yourself," she shouted, trying to summon the courage that felt ever elusive. From the corner of the room, a figure began to materialize. Wisps of darkness swirled around an old woman, a specter, twisting and wrinkled, the features of her grandmother peering through the shadows. Sarah's breath caught in her throat as dread washed over her. "Grandma? Oh, my sweet girl," the figure cooed, her voice like brittle leaves crunching underfoot. "You didn't really think you could escape your fate, did you? The keeper is waiting." Her words dripped with the weight of ancient truths and buried horrors. A sickening twist of guilt knotted in Sarah's stomach. "No, I'm not your sacrifice," She couldn't bear it, the thought of being just another offering to the darkness. She thought of Lisa, of the lost ones before her. What would they say if they saw her now? The figure leaned closer, that disturbing smile seeming to stretch beyond human limits. You'll never escape the legacy of our family. When the sun sets, the keeper rises, and he takes what is due. The clock chimed again, its resonance swallowing the air. The shadows around Sarah began to thicken, wrapping around her ankles like creeping vines. She could feel their coldness sapping her strength, pulling her toward the floor. "Stop!" she yelled, heart racing, trying to shake off the encroaching despair. She recalled the stories, the rituals that had been whispered around the dinner table. Could she use them? In her childhood, family gatherings had often felt like a movie, something projected for generations, but now, they felt more like a prison. Their secrets were alive, pulsating, and hungry. "Find the box," the apparition whispered, an imperceptible glee lacing her voice. "In the attic. The key lies with the past." Before Sarah could respond, the shadows surged closer, wrapping around her so tightly she was stifling. "Let me go," she screamed, desperation bleeding into her voice. Just then, a sliver of light burst through the darkness. A sudden flash of inspiration ignited within her a memory of the family heirloom, something her grandmother once mentioned. Without hesitation, she charged toward the door, pushing through the shadows with all her strength. The hinges creaked ominously, but she wouldn't stop until she was free. The passageway stretched before her, the walls breathing darkness. But she had to reach the attic. She had to unearth the truth buried in the secrets of the Ellison family. With each step, the whispers grew louder, urging her to turn back. But she propelled herself deeper into the home, driven by the nagging thought. Maybe knowledge could be her weapon. If she found that box, it could hold the key to breaking the curse, or perhaps it would be the last nail in her coffin. As she dashed up the stairs, the clock struck again, the chimes frantic and boisterous now. She could practically feel the keeper breathing down her neck, waiting for her to stumble. The attic door loomed ahead, but what awaited her beyond it? And would she dare to open the secrets sealed away? Time was crawling, and with every tick, the shadows lengthened, hungry for her. What if the box contained horrors meant only to ensnare her, tightening the grip of the darkness? With one last breath, she grasped the cold handle, ready to confront whatever lay beyond the door. But what she didn't know was that the keeper wasn't finished with her yet. The attic door groaned as Sarah pushed it open, revealing a darkened space cluttered with forgotten memories. Dust motes danced in the shaft of light from the flickering bulb overhead, casting eerie shapes on the walls. The air was stale, thick with the suffocating weight of secrets stretched far too thin over the years. She stepped inside. Her heart thundered in her chest, the shadows hungry for her fear. Old trunks and boxes lay stacked in disarray, their surfaces swathed in cobwebs. She sensed eyes in the dark, watching her every movement. The air felt electric, charged with the intensity of what lingered there. "Where is it?" she muttered, searching through the clutter. Her fingers brushed against rough wood, cool metal, and unyielding fabric. Each item felt like a reminder of the lives or perhaps souls that had come before her. Did any of them lead to the box her grandmother spoke of? The clock's chime echoed in her ears, an ominous reminder that time was slipping away. With a grunt, she shoved aside a chest, revealing a tattered quilt draped over a low table. A flicker of hope ignited within her. Maybe the key was here, hidden beneath the remnants of their family legacy. She yanked the quilt aside, and underneath lay a small, intricately carved box. It wasn't much to look at, but the air twisted around her, sensing the power it held. A shiver ran down her spine as she reached for the box, anticipation and dread swirling together. Her fingers trembled as they grazed the surface, the wood warm beneath her touch. The lid was ornately detailed, depicting a tree with branches that seemed to reach out, begging her to listen to the secrets they held. "What did you hide?" she whispered. Suddenly, the temperature dropped. A chill swept through the room, prickling her skin. Sarah's breath caught in her throat as the shadows slithered closer, whispering incoherently. The eerie stillness wrapped around her like a cocoon, leaving only the sound of her racing pulse. She swallowed hard and yanked the box open. A burst of light erupted from inside, blinding her momentarily. When the brightness faded, she leaned closer, her heart racing even faster. Inside lay an array of objects. A tarnished locket, a frayed letter, and an ancient dagger glinting menacingly. Is this? She lifted the locket, recognizing her mother's face trapped within. Why must it always come back to her? As she rifled through the contents, words from the letter caught her eye. To the one who unlocks these memories, heed this warning. The keeper is relentless. The last word echoed in her mind like a death knell. Her grandmother's warnings replayed. This was more than just family baggage. It was a warning aimed directly at her. The shadows began to stir, congealing into a shape that threatened to engulf her, closing in with a gnawing hunger. Panic erupted within her, bringing with it a surge of adrenaline. She had to act. She couldn't stay here, a place so deeply entwined with death. With a final glance at the box, the weight of her past felt like an anvil against her heart. She could sense the keeper lurking just beyond the edges of her vision, waiting for her to let her guard down. Clutching the locket tightly, she stood resolute. The box contained the key, enhancing every bone in her body that this was just the beginning. Get away! Sarah screamed, brandishing the dagger as if it could ward off her fate. But as the shadows twisted and danced, slithering onto her skin, she realized the truth. Facing the keeper meant confronting not just the darkness, but her own buried fears. Would she find a way to break the curse, or had she merely opened the door to a greater horror? Outside, the clock continued its relentless countdown. As the last chime echoed through the attic, she could feel the keeper breathing down her neck, eager to claim what was his. Time was running out. Would she unveil the truth of the box, or would she become another faded portrait on the wall? The shadows lunged, coiling around Sarah like a serpent ready to strike. She stumbled back, the dagger trembling in her grip. Panic surged through her veins, pulsating with each frantic beat of her heart. This couldn't be the end. Not like this. Not in that attic filled with secrets kept close and forgotten memories. She had to move, had to escape before the darkness consumed her completely. With a final glance at the box, she darted towards the attic door, every instinct screaming for her to flee. Willing her legs to comply, she pushed through the heavy shadows, slipping into the hallway, gasping for breath as the door slammed shut behind her. The hallway felt different. It shifted, twisted like the shadows had taken form and chased her into the small, empty space. The familiar patina of her childhood transformed into an alien landscape. The once warm family photos now seemed to leer at her, eyes full of accusation. They were reminders of those who had come before her, each one echoing the fate her grandmother had warned about. A chill ran down her spine as she glanced at the clock on the wall. The hands ticked furiously, a haunting rhythm that fueled her fear. 16. Her 16th birthday loomed just hours away. That was when the curse would claim her, the very shadow in the attic threatening to make her another forgotten face trapped within those walls. Think, Sarah, what do I do? She muttered, pacing the wooden floor as if it might crack open and reveal a hidden door. What had her grandmother meant by the keeper? Was it connected to the box? The locket? Each piece seemed like a puzzle, a trail of breadcrumbs leading deeper into the darkness. Her breath was ragged, and she felt the weight of the locket around her neck, the metal cool against her skin. No, I won't end up like them, she whispered fiercely, clutching it. Carefully, she pulled it free, examining the tiny portrait inside. It was her mother, looking serene yet distant. Suddenly, the lights flickered overhead, casting unsettling shadows that danced across the walls. A low whisper echoed through the hallway, filling the silence. Sarah, it was her name, but it felt wrong. The darkness seemed to wrap around it, twisting it into a sinister lullaby, beckoning her to return to the attic. No. She pressed her palms against her ears, trying to drown out the sound. But the whispers grew louder, pressing against her mind like waves crashing against a shore. Find the truth before it's too late. In a burst of determination, she raced back towards the attic door. If she was going to confront whatever awaited her there, she needed the knowledge found within the box. It could be the key to breaking the curse, or at the very least, uncovering the dark threads that bound her family to this torment. As she reached the door, an unseen force slammed it shut, sending a jolt of terror through her. "Let me in," she cried, pounding her fists against the wood. The whispers turned into angry murmurs, and she could almost feel their icy breath on her neck. But she wouldn't give up. With all her strength, she heaved against the door, and it creaked ominously before giving way. As she stumbled back into the attic, fresh fear clutched her throat. The box lay open, the contents swirling with dark energy, taunting her. The dagger glinted, a siren's call, daring her to reach for it. This time, she knew she couldn't just take from the past. She had to confront it. With a deep breath, she stepped forward, ready to face the keeper and the truth she had ignored for too long. And just as her fingers hovered above the box, the shadows surged forth, solidifying before her in the shape of a figure, cloaked and overwhelming. "Welcome, Sarah," it hissed, the echoes of her name sending shivers down her spine. She knew then that the real test was not just understanding the past, but fighting against the very essence of it. Was she ready to uncover the horrors? To face what was whispered in the dark? With one last surge of defiance, Sarah met the dark figure's gaze. "I'm not afraid of you," but as the figure reached out, she felt doubt claw at her heart. Did she truly have the strength to unravel the curse before it unraveled her? The figure loomed larger, draped in swirling shadows that seemed to breathe and sigh, as if alive. "You should be terrified," it crooned, a voice moist with malice. Each word dripped with a languid derision. Sarah's heart thudded against her ribs, an urgent reminder of her mortality. She clenched the locket again, but it felt heavier now, burdened by generations of pain and loss. Taking a step back, she scanned the attic, looking for a weapon, an escape, anything. The air turned thick, heavy with anticipation. In that moment, the shadows shifted, revealing the skeletal outlines of old trunks and draped sheets, remnants of lives once vibrant now rendered lifeless. "Your time is almost up," the dark figure hissed, a cruel smile spreading across its featureless face. "Embrace what is yours. Become one with the darkness." The shadows whispered, like fingers tugging at her, reminding her of the stories her grandmother had spun. Tales of fate twisted by curses and bloodlines. "Enough!" she shouted, her voice cutting into the thickening swell of despair. It shocked even her, a slight tremor of defiance overcoming the dread. "You don't own me. I will break this." But the figure merely chuckled, a sound so hollow it echoed inside her head. "Break it? Oh, my dear Sarah. The curse is not just yours to unravel. You will fulfill the cycle just like the others before you." Images flashed through her mind, the faces of her mother, aunt, countless women in her family history, each eclipsed by darkness as they approached their 16. Fear gripped her, twisting her insides into knots. Had they all felt this same terror? Had they all fought and failed? "No," she whispered, shaking her head. If she succumbed to the despair, she'd become another story lost to the shadows. The box, the contents held answers. She could feel it. With adrenaline pumping, she grasped the dagger, feeling its cold handle ignite a spark of courage. An empty gesture, the figure said, sliding closer, tendrils of shadow snaking toward her. Gritting her teeth, Sarah lunged, thrusting the dagger towards the box. It sliced through the air, severing the darkness that sought to constrict her. A flare of light blazing from the box, illuminating the attic in a stark glow. The shadows recoiled, screeching, revealing glimpses of the horrors shackled within. Faces twisted in agony, trapped, pleading for release. "Stop!" the figure screeched, the air shifting as if the very fabric of the attic was tearing apart. With renewed determination, Sarah pressed forward, her courage solidifying with each pulse of light. She had to confront the heart of the beast, the keeper itself. "Your will cannot withstand what has been set in motion," the figure bellowed, fury crackling like thunder. But the energy radiating from the box surged within her, intertwining with her fears, transforming them. She felt the pulse of her family's past, each heartbeat a testament to their struggles. They had fought against the Keeper's will, and she would not dishonor their legacy. "I will not be a pawn," she cried, gripping the dagger tightly, channeling the strength of all who came before her. With a final push, she plunged the dagger into the box. A blinding light erupted, dazzling in its intensity, flooding the attic as shadows screamed echoes of despair crashing against the walls. "Sarah!" The cry, desperate yet familiar, momentarily drew her focus, luring her back. Was that her mother's voice? But the light pulsated, dominating, pulling her closer as the shadows churned violently, caught in chaos. Just when she thought she could glimpse the truth, an unseen force yanked her backward. The light flickered, and she felt herself slipping into a void, darkness creeping once more. "Don't forget your name, don't forget it," faded, leaving her with an aching void as the light flickered and went out. A distant whisper beckoned. Every daughter has a choice, and in that moment of uncertainty, she realized the next chapter of her fight had just begun. What would she do when the darkness came calling again? A reckoning awaited, and choices had to be made. But which choice would lead her to light, and which would seal her fate? The air crackled as Sarah plunged into the abyss, a dark liquid cold wrapping around her. Her lungs screamed for breath, and just when she thought she might drown in nothingness, she gasped. The attic returned, the shadows lurking, mocking her. "Did you think you could escape?" The figure loomed, its form now more defined, more menacing. The light from the box had flickered out, leaving only an oppressive darkness. Panic surged inside her. She was back. But where were the answers? "Where's my mother?" she shouted, trying to make her voice steady. But her words trembled like leaves caught in a storm. The figure stepped toward her, casting a twisted silhouette against the brittle attic walls, where remnants of an era long past flickered in and out of focus. "Your mother is part of the legacy." The figure's tone turned soft, almost condescending. "She too fought, and she too failed." "No." The word escaped her lips, more a plea than a defiance. Anguish flooded her thoughts, wrapping her in layers of dread. Had her mother faced the same shadows? Did she lose just like the others? "Let me show you a memory," the figure whispered, and with an outstretch of its hands, the walls of the attic warped. Images bled out, each more haunting than the last. Her mother at 16, eyes pleading as shadows clawed at her. What are you doing?" Sarah's heart raced. Learning is the first step to embracing what is rightfully yours. A horrific scene unfolded, a cycle of despair. Each woman in her lineage locked away in the same attic, battling the same shadows as they wore the cursed locket. They each fought against the darkness of their fate, each one met with overwhelming despair as they too, like her mother, were swallowed whole. "No!" Sarah staggered back, hitting a trunk. A sharp pain jolted through her. Clenching her jaw, a wave of determination surged. She couldn't allow her mother's fate to be her own. But how? The box had given her a taste of power, but that light had gone out too quickly. She had to reignite it. One corner of the attic remained brighter, straining against the encroaching shadows. Sarah sprinted toward it. Her pulse thundered in her ears, drowning out the whispers of doubt and despair, holding on to the memory of her mother, that last glimpse of hope trapped behind despair. The figure laughed, a cruel sound filled with twisted amusement. "You think you can escape this? You will return just like the others." The voice twisted around her, slippery and insidious, tightening like a noose. "Believe what you will, but I refuse to become a shadow." She ripped the locket from her neck and held it before her, heart racing, exposing herself. The memories of her mother filled her with warmth. She needed to channel that love, that light. "Bring forth the light," she shouted into the void, feeling the locket warm in her hand. The air thickened, vibrating as shadows coiled tight around her. "It won't save you. Just watch." With a fierce roar, she hurled the locket against the nearest wall. It shattered, light spilling from the broken pieces, illuminating the attic with an intensity that sent the shadows wailing. The figure screamed, rage blending with fear as the light pushed back, cracking the darkness apart. It wasn't defeated yet. It was still lingering, coiling like a serpent prepared to strike. Sarah, a voice beckoned, familiar and desperate. Mother? As she turned towards the voice, the attic trembled. The auras of her ancestors grew bright, a series of women rising from shadows to join her, each holding flickers of light, each eyeing the horrific figure with defiance. But their strength wasn't enough. The figure still lurked, deeper shadows surging, ready to reclaim all that belonged to it. Now it's time for a choice, Sarah heard a whisper threaded through the chaos, spinning her resolve like a web. Will you leave the past behind, or embrace it with open arms? The word choice echoed ominously in her thoughts. But which choice would shatter the darkness, and which would plunge her into the void forever? She had to decide, fast, and just as she steadied herself, the shadows lunged forward, and she was faced with the decision of a lifetime. Would her next move banish the figure forever, or simply lead her to her own doom? Sarah felt the tide of shadows ebb and flow around her like a tempest, whispers morphing into cries for help, the very air charged with urgency and desperation. The figure's twisted form loomed larger, its malevolence palpable, pulling at the frayed edges of her resolve. But amidst the fear, a fierce determination ignited within her, a burning need to break free from the suffocating traditions that haunted her family. Enough! Sarah shouted, her voice cutting through the darkness. She steadied herself, feeling the cool grip of the dagger reassuring in her hand. The memories of her ancestors surged forth beside her, a chorus of silent support bolstering her strength. I won't let this fate claim me. As the shadows lunged, desperate to pull her into their swirling depths, Sarah inhaled deeply, grounding herself in the knowledge of her identity. She was an Ellison, yes, but she was also more. She was a survivor. She could rewrite her fate. It didn't have to end in darkness. With that thought pulsing in her veins, she raised the dagger high. Leave my family alone, she bellowed, the words spilling forth like a flame, igniting passion and courage deep inside her. At that moment, the air shimmered as the light from the shattered locket glowed brighter, illuminating the attic in a blinding radiance. The figure hissed, shadows recoiling, its sneer warping into something akin to terror. You think you can defy the Keeper? You are foolish to believe you hold the power. I don't just believe, Sarah declared. I know. With that, she plunged the dagger deep into the wooden floorboards, calling forth the energy stored within, the energy passed down from every Ellison woman who fought the same battle. The floor trembled as beams of light erupted, illuminating the room with warmth, piercing the shadows, sending them screaming back as they began to disintegrate into ashes. The figure writhed, caught in the radiance, its form flickering as if struggling against a storm. Sarah felt her heart beating fiercely, a solid drum echoing the ageless rhythm of her ancestors. You are not the Keeper. You don't own me. I am not a pawn in your wicked game. Sweat trickled down her brow, but she didn't falter. She kept pushing forward. Each word poured from her with the strength of every woman before her, every voice that had been silenced. The shadows faded with each resonant shout, flickering light chasing away the darkness that had haunted her bloodline for centuries. Let them go, Sarah cried, and in response, the air crackled with light, vibrant and freeing. A palpable energy surged around her, knitting together the flickering threads of her ancestral legacy. The Keeper's figure dissolved and reformed, contorting in mania. You can't reject your heritage. It screeched, its voice echoing against the walls. You are bound to me. No. Sarah emitted a forceful cry, his words shattering like glass against her will. The ancient energy from the box shot through her as she thrust her arm forward, a beam of fierce light radiating from the dagger toward the figure, the piercing glow igniting like a supernova. For a moment, the room was illuminated in a pure, blinding light, before the darkness tore away, revealing the intricate patterns of memory swirling like leaves caught in a gust of wind. She could see them, those who came before her, each one rising with newfound clarity, piercing through the veil of shadows that had enslaved them, With one final cry, Sarah struck at the heart of the dark figure. The shadow exploded in a cacophony of screams, an inferno of light engulfing it until nothing remained but silence. The attic dimmed to a gentle glow, the dust motes still dancing lazily in the air. The weight of dread lifted, and with it, the air turned tender and soothing. The keeper was gone. Breathless, Sarah sank to her knees, the remnants of fatigue caressing her like a warm blanket. She had done it. She had broken the curse that had ensnared her family for generations. Sarah, a voice whispered, drawing her gaze upward. Light formed from the ashes, swirling and solidifying into warm, familiar shapes. It was Lisa, standing beside her, with the shadow of her mother glowing softly behind her. "You did it," her mother said, tears shining in her eyes. "You broke the cycle." Sarah's heart soared. "But I thought I lost you." "Never. You carried our love and strength within you. We're proud of you, sweet girl." The shadows that had once suffocated her family now faded into the ethereal light, and Sarah understood the echoes of past pain had transformed into symbols of resilience. She realized that, with courage and love, they could break free. As Lisa approached, Sarah pulled her into a fierce embrace, relief flooding them both. They had conquered the darkness together. There was solace in unity. And as the first light of dawn crested the horizon, the warmth washed over Sarah. She breathed in hope, anticipation tingling in the air. Today wasn't just the day she turned 16. It was the day the Ellison family reclaimed not just their lives, but their legacy. "Let us go," she said, taking Lisa's hand as they stepped into the luminous glow of a new beginning. They left the attic behind, the echoes of whispers fading with the dawn, and faced the world outside free to write their own stories. Thank you for joining me on this incredible journey with Sarah and her family. If you haven't done so yet, you need to subscribe immediately so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Don't forget to smash the like button now to feed the algorithm and support the channel. You guys have the power to keep these stories coming, and I want to hear from you. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. What do you think will happen next? Finally, share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share. The adventure continues with people like you. Thank you for being an amazing audience.